Mailbag time. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I'm Adam Azer with Dan Schneier. He's got his Fantasy Football Today shirt on. He had a CBS Sports hat on, but he didn't like the way it looked, so he decided to just use the same old hairstyle he's had for the last 15 years of his life on today's show. Welcome, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great, Adam. And, big things are ahead for us here at Fantasy Football Today because we're finally finalizing the details of the match, as we're calling it. Myself, Adam Azer, a tennis match, 2 sets, best of 3, but we'll only need 2 sets to decide this one. And we won't need 3 sets, and that's not even showing enough confidence in yourself. I am expecting a really good turnout by me. Really good show out. But let me tell you guys a little bit, and girls, a little bit about what.
You can't just jump into this. Fine. I was going to say this for later because I don't like starting the show with this. I want to start the show with fantasy content. That's how this show works. It's a fantasy.
Well, there's something called Draftathon going on, and we're trying to raise money for St. Jude.
We'll do that later. Let's start with some fantasy talk.
I guess Adam doesn't care about the kids.
Geez, what a horrible thing to say. What a horrible thing to say. I care about my kids not being in the same house as they.
He only cares about his kids. I understand.
Yeah. All right. Listen, so I have another thing on Twitter that we could talk about here.
Put up this Starburst thing?
No, Starburst, we can do that too. But which team do you like better? All right. I looked at a couple of teams. Which team do you like better?
Okay, zoom in a little, please, somebody.
All right, I'll work on that. Let's see. Which team do you like better? So there's a couple of teams in a 3-receiver league. Where's my zoom? Where's my snare? Where's my snare?
There it is.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
Okay. So it's 3 receivers and a flex. It's full PPR. Team A has Joe Burrow, 6 point per passing touchdown. Joe Burrow, McCaffrey, and Mixon at running back. Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, and T. Higgins at receiver. Pat Freiermuth at tight end, and either Zach Moss or JSN or Tajay Spears at flex. So it's Burrow, McCaffrey, Mixon, Adams, Waddle, Higgins.
Oh, man, this one's a no-brainer for me. I just looked at the other team. Go ahead.
The other team. Yeah, the flex for that team is Zach Moss. The other team is Tua, quarterback, Jonathan Taylor, and David Montgomery. Puka Nacua, Devontae Smith, and DJ Moore at receiver. Kyle Pitts, tight end. Flex is going to be Marquise Brown or Rico Dowdle or Devin Singletary.
Is there a world where anyone would be picking Team B? Oh, wait. 23.9% of the public picked Team B. It's unbelievable to me.
So it should be Team A, right?
Yeah. It's not even close.
I agree. Team A is my team. Team B is Dan's team from our magazine draft.
Wow.
I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Wow. Well, we had that a while ago before Puka's injury. Let's start by saying that.
And Marquise Brown, so I'll give you that.
Marquise Brown's injury. Yep. So, but yeah, good job, buddy. You out-drafted me.
I needed that win.
It's about time you out-drafted me.
All right. We've got, you know what? Let me read some emails, then I'll tell you all the cool things that we have coming up. Draftathon-wise, tennis match, podcast league. Actually, podcast league. Oh, wait. What was the date for that podcast league? Let me just make sure I have that.
The FFT league?
No, the podcast leftovers league. Tuesday, August 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, August 27th, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to be in the podcast leftovers league, send an email to fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. That is the letter I. Fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. Put podcast league in the subject line. If you want, do something clever. We've actually had some pretty funny entries so far. There will be 8 of you joining us. It is 9 of you. It is a 10-team Superflex league. Okay, let's get to the show. Email fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. By the way, Jamie will be joining us soon. Email from, I don't have a name here. Sorry about that. Hey, football aficionados. Has there been a running back with a mobile rushing quarterback finishing in the top 10 in the past? Trying to decide if I should grab a player like Saquon Barkley, but then there's Jalen Hurts.
That's a great question. Do we have Azer stats for this?
We do. So 2018, Christian McCaffrey was RB2 overall and per game. Cam Newton was his quarterback that year. Cam Newton didn't have one of those amazing rushing years, but McCaffrey, I think he only rushed for 6. He rushed for 7 touchdowns that year, but he had 107 catches.
But that's a good point there. It wasn't based on the touchdowns, only 7, and it was a reception-based total there.
Saquon Barkley in 2022. Jamie's here. What's up, Jamie?
Hey,
Jamie.
For running backs who have been elite with mobile quarterbacks. So McCaffrey in 2018, but wasn't a great rushing year for him. It was more of a great receiving year. Barkley, RB5 in 2022, and Daniel Jones had 708 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. That's a pretty substantial rushing season. Barkley was RB5. And James Conner was like very good. Not elite, but good with Kyler Murray. But that was in 2021. Kyler Murray rushed for 423 yards and 5 touchdowns in 14 games. Conner had 15 rushing touchdowns that season. Those were the 3 examples that came to mind for me. I cannot think of a running back who's been first round worthy with a truly elite rushing quarterback. Hurts what we expect from Anthony Richardson. I would say even Josh Allen because of his touchdowns. So it's a great point. You got 2 guys that are going in that range. You got
3, right?
3 with Henry as well for including him. Is that who you're thinking of, Jamie? Yeah.
Yeah, Derrick Henry.
In the first round. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, just close enough. And it's interesting because they can cannibalize not only the rushing touchdown total, but also the receptions. So it's really in PPR and half PPR, I think it matters even more to me.
And again, if you're looking at touchdown totals, Shane Steichen was at the helm of the Eagles when Miles Sanders scored 11 touchdowns with Jalen Hurts. So that's, something to keep in mind. And look, I think when it comes down to Henry, we did see, Mark Ingram have a good touchdown season. Now it was 5 receptions for touchdowns. That's probably hard to expect for Henry, but still, I think as we've noted, 13 rushing touchdowns for Gus Edwards last year. Hopefully that's the case for Henry. And my apologies for being late. I saw some comment that I'm always late for my job. I was at a funeral, so I apologize.
Yeah, probably should have made that comment.
Yeah.
Sorry for that, Jamie.
It's okay.
Yeah, Jamie's working overtime here for us. So, all right. So it is something to think about. The other thing is like, hey, maybe it works the other way. Maybe these guys take rushing production from the quarterbacks.
Right.
Hey, James Conner with that big season. Kyler Murray didn't score that many rushing touchdowns.
Barkley Hurts one is really interesting because Hurts really didn't have that good of a year last year if you take away the 1,000,000 1-yard rushing touchdowns he had.
All right, let's go to our next email from Brad.
One final thing on that I saw a stat that I thought was interesting. There were enough opportunities for Eagles running backs inside the 5 last year. They just didn't cash in on them. They would get down to the 1, and that's when Hurts would take over. Now you put in a player like Saquon Barkley in those same opportunities, and is he scoring from those spots inside the 5? And in that case, are we led to a point where Hurts doesn't get those opportunities because the running back is more efficient in that first touch?
So yeah. I'll go to something that Robert Turbin said with us, Adam, and he reiterated it yesterday on CBS Sports Network because we were talking about the running backs that changed team, which obviously is 2 of them here with Barkley and Henry. And his point about both of them was, I don't know if you recall this, when he said he has Barkley as his number 2 running back. I don't know if that's NFL or fantasy, but he has Barkley as number 2 running back for the season behind McCaffrey. And his point about Barkley, and I think he said the same thing about Henry, is that they were asked to carry their offenses last year. On the teams that they're on now, they're not going to be asked to carry their offense. And as a matter of fact, he did say this because Heath has both those guys as busts, and Heath's point was he agreed, yes, they're not going to have to do as much for their offense. So there's 2 sides of that. There's not going to have to do so much, but may have easier opportunities, right? So as Robert was explaining, the RPOs for Hurts and Barkley, my goodness, who's keying in on Saquon as much as he was on the Giants? It's I'll let Daniel Jones beat me. I'm not going to let Jalen Hurts beat me, in the passing game. And I think the same thing comes with Derrick Henry as well. So hopefully some of those easier opportunities, like you said, if it takes away a little bit from the quarterbacks, I'm certainly fine with it. But I think that's probably what ends up happening more so than the running backs necessarily lose tremendously because those guys are pretty good.
All right, this one's from Brad. I know coaches and schemes play a pivotal role, but is there any data that can suggest which positions will struggle versus the others on teams with an elite trio? For example, the Falcons, Lions, and Cardinals all have wide receiver, running back, tight end capable of being top 10 at their position. Is there any metric that will indicate one position struggling over another? I don't think so.
No,
it's about like who's better. Those teams have better. It's just, I don't think so. It's a good question. I think I'm just gonna move on. I don't think so. From Tommy, greetings, Mr. Keaton, Mr. Only, and Mr. Rhymes.
Busta.
Busta Rhymes.
Busters. Yeah.
No.
No, and
I don't
Buster
get-
Olney.
And what's the Keaton?
Buster Keaton is an American actor who was born in 1895.
Okay, that can't be it.
No, it is. These are Busters. Like
Okay.
that is definitely it. Of my one of my many leagues is a 3-receiver PPR. Okay, I'm just gonna say right now is controversial. I hate this strategy. I absolutely hate this strategy. Jamie's gonna tell you he loves this strategy. Dan's probably gonna just agree with Jamie.
No, that's not true. I'm going to have my own opinion.
Okay, it's gonna be
Again,
Jamie.
we keep failing to recognize that because me agreeing with Jamie is not me agreeing with Jamie because it's Jamie. It's that he's giving better takes than you, Adam. If you improve your takes, I will agree with you more often.
Okay, listen, I appreciate that. Tommy, we're going to get to your question in a minute. But if you haven't signed up for the BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FANTASY and you're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code FANTASY, baby. No, just fantasy. I shouldn't have said baby there. Bonus code is FANTASy. Let's get excited for it. I can't wait to make some wagers. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code FANTASY when you sign up. All right. On our Draftathon page, we have mock drafts for you to join. Jamie's on Thursday afternoon, mine on Tuesday nights, part of the live stream. So please contribute to that. I think there's still one spot left in Thomas Schaefer's FFT Open League. And yeah, you'll see anything available there. You're going to see the tennis match, the opportunity to bid on the tennis match. We'll tell you more about that later. And we will be right back after this break with this great question from Tommy on Fantasy Football Today.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Okay. One of my many leagues is a 3-wide receiver PPR league. I've been experimenting with drafting 3 wide receivers with my first 3 picks. And I have to say that I've been loving my teams. Is this insanity? I've been in this league for 4 years, have won it twice, and appeared in the championship game 3 times. So this is a calculated, albeit somewhat wacky experiment by a seasoned fantasy player. What are your thoughts on drafting 3 receivers with my first 3 picks in a 3-receiver PPR league?
This is something that sorry, Jamie, do you want to jump in first?
No, go ahead.
This is something that I do regularly in these types of formats, depending on how the board shakes out. I'm not going to take a receiver to take one, but if he's the best player available, I will. And I'll just use the point that I use every year. It's part of my core strategy in fantasy football. Every position that you start in your fantasy football team is worth the exact same. Your running back 1 is worth the exact same as your flex, or your flex 2 if there's 2 flexes. Your running back 2 is worth the exact same as your 3rd wide receiver. It should not, the goal of fantasy football should not be about balancing out your roster. It should be about winning the league. And in my mind, in a league like this, where it's full PPR, the wide receivers, and you've shown the stats on this, Adam, throughout all seasons. I've heard you bring up and reference that stat multiple times about in full PPR leagues, the difference between the scoring between the wide receivers and the running backs. The goal for me is to get the best wide receiver core, or the best people to fit this format, let's just say. And wide receivers are those guys. I will also, in this format, I will take your strategy to the next level. If I take 3 receivers first and the best player on the board in the 4th round is a wide receiver, I'll fill my flex before I fill my RB1 or my RB2, because I'm not concerned about driving to get this balanced team. I want to win the league, and the flex is worth just as much as the RB1.
Here's why I hate it, and then I'll let Jamie have the last word.
Okay.
I hate it because I love the wide receiver values in rounds 5 and 6. Okay, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros ADP right now.
Why can't you grab them there in this strategy?
Because, like, what are you going to do? You're going to take 5 wide receivers with your first.
You still need a flex. You still need a backup.
You are not doing that, because here's the thing about your flex. Is like, all right, hold on. First of all, my point. I love the wide receiver values. Malik Neighbors, I don't really think he's going to make it to round 5. But Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, George Pickens, Tank Dell. These are round 5, 6 picks. Keenan Allen in round 6. Christian Kirk. In round 7, I'm seeing Calvin Ridley and Terry McLaurin. I don't want you guys to be shut out of that. I don't think there's that big of a difference between Amari Cooper and T. Higgins and the guys you're going to be taking in round 3. So I just don't see a reason to just load up on wide receiver and lose your roster flexibility. I don't think it's a bad strategy to be great at wide receiver. I just don't think you have to do it with your first 3 picks. I want to be able to draft wide receivers in rounds 5 and 6. If I did that with my first 3 picks, and then I'm going back into that pool in rounds 5 and 6, how am I going to be elite anywhere else? I'm only going to be elite at wide receiver. So that is my reason why I don't, this particular year, because of rounds 5 and 6, that's why I don't like this strategy.
Okay, but the strategy is just 3 receivers with your first 3 picks, right?
Yes, in a 3 receiver league.
In a 3 receiver league. Okay, with a flex?
Didn't say.
Okay, let's assume flex because we'll hope that this is a league built the right way. You love Alvin Kamara, right?
I do.
Okay, you could probably get Alvin Kamara in round 4, right?
Or Mixon or Walker, yes.
Okay, so one of those 3.
Uh-huh.
So let's just say you went receiver, and you got Alvin Kamara, right?
Mhm.
Then you come back in round 5 and you take another one of these receivers that we're talking about, correct?
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. So now you have give me the first 3. Give me your dream scenario.
Okay, Tyreek Hill. I would say Waddle, but I won't pair
Let's
him.
go Lamb, Waddle, Neighbors.
Lamb, Waddle, Adams, which is what I did.
Waddle, Adams. Perfect.
in the draft.
There's Adams. When he closes his eyes at night, this is what he dreams about. With
Fire team right there, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you get Kamara in round 4.
Uh-huh.
T. Higgins in round 5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you
Jalen Warren.
No.
No, he'll get better than Warren. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you Zamir White.
Sure. And then you could still get
You like
Jalen
White,
Warren.
right?
I don't think Zamir White's going to be there in round 6, but fine.
These guys are there.
Okay, I'll give you Tony Pollard in round 6.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Jalen Warren in round 7.
Sure. But now we're in the Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy territory.
Adam, here's the deal.
So just so I'm clear, you don't like that build?
I do. I like it, but I don't. I do like that, but I don't need to do it that way. I could easily have instead of I don't mind that build. I'm having trouble thinking of the hypotheticals now, but
Because we've hit you over the head with the truth.
no. I just think
and
that
Adam, can we at least acknowledge
a little bit overkill. Where's my
Dan,
quarterback?
this is gonna be-
Wait a second. Hold on.
Wait,
You
hold on,
didn't-
just real quick.
you
Dan,
didn't
the
get Titan or
look that he
quarterback.
has right now, the feeling he
I
has right now,
didn't
it's going to
realize.
be when the serve goes past him every time.
so many
What?
aces?
I
I'm
didn't
not even a good
realize.
server, and I'll be
I
acing him.
didn't realize that in this scenario, I don't have a top 8 quarterback or a top 8 tight end. So no, I do not like this build.
No, that's not true. That's
didn't
not
give
true.
me
Not
that.
true
What
at
you
all.
can do now,
You
see
can
here's
get Kyle
what
Pitts
let-
after
let's-
this. You
Let's
can get
just
any of
ratchet
these
it up
players.
another level here.
You and Kyle Pitts is going in this 8th
And you don't
round.
know that
Let
the
me ratchet it up another
preseason
level
ranked
for you.
top
Let
8
me ratchet
QBs
it
are
up
not
another level for you.
guaranteed to be the top 8 QB.
You've now gone receiver, your dream of CD Lamb, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Adams. You've gotten your sleeper of the year running back in Alvin Kamara. You've gotten now T. Higgins in round 5. Instead of taking another running back, oh my God, you take your tight end.
Fine.
Or your
Okay.
quarterback, but you don't need to take your quarterback. The
Look,
fact of the matter
it's
is, you can
doable. It's
find top
doable,
8
but-
quarterbacks later in the draft.
All right, we all made our point. Let's go to our next question here. It's
Ace,
would
what just happened? He served that pass. What?
from Ted. I had to make a simple point. Up until now, Dan has had me convinced that he would make short work of Adam in this tennis match. I'm now putting my money on Adam. How can a guy who's such a spaz he can't even pump his own gas beat Adam in tennis? I don't get it. The guy can't even pump his own gas without covering himself in fuel, and he's going to beat Adam. I'd have to bet on Adam if it was tiddlywinks at this point.
Well, I'll tell you this. That was a one-time scenario where I spilled some gas on the shorts. All right. This is my first time ever touching a gas pump. And no, it's not minus 500. We're setting the line at minus 200. Like, that's fair line, 2-1. But let me tell you something, Tiddlywinks, or whoever your name is. No, that's not his name. That's the game he said he beat me in.
Jamie, did you just miss what he said?
What?
Oh, that was an amazing fan moment.
We're going to adjust this line as bets
Hold
come
on,
in. But
hold on. Wait,
let me just let
hold
you.
on. Oh, I'm muting you. Dan said, the guy said, I would bet on Adam and Tiddlywinks at this point. And Dan didn't understand. He said, let me tell you something, Tiddlywinks. That was the guy's name.
What's his name?
Ted.
What's his name? Ted? Oh, Ted, let me tell you something.
Tiddlywinks.
Ted, I've already accepted one wager on Twitter from another listener of the podcast. 2-1 odds. That's what I'm offering. My money versus your money. The loser donates it to St. Jude and during the draft-a-thon. So I have one bet. Let me know. My DMs are open. I am accepting unlimited amounts of bet. If I lose this match, I will donate all of that money at a 2-to-1 rate to St. Jude. So you just let me know what you want to do. I have no doubt in my mind. People, it's like, here's the best scenario I can give you. I play golf with my friend Steve Hall sometimes. He's been playing golf since he was 8 years old.
You're bad at golf.
For 40 years. Okay? He's playing golf for 40 years. He only gets time to play twice or 2 or 3 times per summer because he has a child. He beats me every time by 10 strokes.
You suck at golf.
Adam, tennis and golf are games where if you grew up playing the game, you're going to have a massive advantage over you'll see soon. Like, it's just a matter of time.
I played when I was a kid. I didn't pick up a racket.
Tennis?
Yes.
I didn't get lessons or no?
Yes. And my coach quit because I was throwing my racket and cursing all the time.
Oh, this could be great. We need to live stream.
We need to
find a way to videotape. If that's your demeanor on a court,
this is when I was like 9 years old, by the way.
Yeah, but you haven't fixed that anger issue.
I'm very composed. All right. Anyway, you can bet, you can place a wait, you can bid on us.
Wait, let me explain what we're doing here.
All right. This is the last we're talking about. Then we're going to focus on football the rest of the time.
We're focusing on football after this, but if you want to help us raise money for St. Jude in our draft-a-thon effort, here's how you do it. We have 2 auctions that will be open, one for Team Adam, one for Team Dan. This will also give you the opportunity to play in the official FFT League that will be drafting the Tuesday before the start of the regular season at 2 p.m. Eastern, the Tuesday for the start of the regular season at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you're the highest bid for Team Dan in this auction, you will co-manage the FFT League team with me. You will draft with me. You will do free agency every week. We will trade. If you are the high bid for Adam, you will co-manage the team with Adam. Now, here's the last part of this. Whoever wins the match between me and Adam, that's where it gets interesting. If you are the auction winner on that team, we have the opportunity to do 2 things during the FFT draft, the official FFT League draft. 1, if we don't like the random draft slot that we got, we will be able to pick the other person's draft slot before the draft and flop that spot. 2, at any point in the draft after round 2, we get to force a trade through for their draft pick, Adam's draft pick, because he's not going to win this match, for our draft pick. So we will get his draft pick round 3, round 4, whatever it may be. Hopefully we're drafting on opposite ends so we can really, really hammer it to him. And then once we do all that, Adam will finish in 11th or 10th like he usually does in leagues that he competes against me in. And then we'll finish in 2nd or 3rd. So you know who to bid on. You understand what's going to happen here. Adam will be lucky to get 3 games this entire match.
All right. We'll
and
see
then the
about
commissioner
that.
will overrule all of that.
No, it's happening. It's happening.
No, you have to let that happen, Jamie. That's part of the auction.
All right. This is from Brian in Ohio. Would you be comfortable drafting both running backs from Pittsburgh or Tennessee?
Yes.
Yes.
I actually love the idea of drafting into these ambiguous backfields, especially ones that I have confidence in. I'll start with the Steelers. Arthur Smith, you can say what you want about him, but he's really good for fantasy running backs, and those are 2 talented players. I actually like Warren a bit more, so I'm intrigued by what he can do in this system, and I think he's a better runner for power and gap scheme, and that's what Arthur Smith does a lot of G lead, a lot of these concepts that will help create space for him. Now, on the other side, I'm putting all my faith in Bill Callahan, the Titans offensive line coach. He's one of the GOATs. He's one of the best in the NFL, and he's worked with worse talent than he currently has. They gave him 2 first-round picks in the last 2 years on the offensive line, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I lean toward Pollard right now because Pollard looked really explosive in that preseason game, and if he has that level back a year removed from the injury, he could be a really good value.
The smart thing to do, though, is take 1 of each.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
And by the way, Adam, in this start 3 receiver strategy, you can get those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as optimistic as you guys are. I think when you look at the outcomes for Najee and Jalen Warren last year, it wasn't very good. These were not 2 guys. These were 2 flexes at best.
But if you have elite receivers and an elite flex and then hopefully elite RB1, which you love Kamara, your sleeper of the year, then you get good enough production, you're fine.
That could be. I'm just saying, like, drafting tandem running backs, I'm fine with it because if one of them gets hurt, then bam. I would like for, like, Heath took Tony Pollard. Heath went 0 RB in our draft this morning, Friday morning. And he took Tony Pollard round 6, and I think he took Tajay Spears in round 9. So that's great.
Okay.
Najee and Warren are basically like going back to back. Same with Chase Brown and Zach Moss.
Did he take them as his first 2 running backs or no?
First 2 of 3. He took Pollard in round 6, Javonte in round 7, and Spears in round 9. Okay, let's see. By the way, last year we did have Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs finish top 17, both of them as tandems. 2022, we had Tony Pollard as RB9, Zeke as RB22, and Jamal Williams RB13, DeAndre Swift RB21. We've had 9 examples of teammates finishing top 24 over the last 5 seasons. So not bad. How about an email from Dan from the home of the Ronald Reagan Library?
No idea where that is.
Neither. 10-team full PPR league, 5 bench spots.
I would guess California.
Good call.
Good call, yeah. I have my heart, but not my mind set on Chubb or Brooks. I got my sometime after my positions are filled. Looking at NFC ADP from the past weekend, Jonathan Brooks goes at pick 93, Chubb at pick 114. Some of the running backs going close to Brooks are Singletary, Mostert, Moss, and Brown. Close to Chubb, Jerome, Ford, Gus Edwards. Should I target either one, Brooks or Chubb? Neither one? Are they worth stashing to have for the last half of the season? Jamie?
I certainly have more confidence in Brooks at this point than I do in Chubb, just because of age and the length of rehab process. Chubb's injury was more substantial than Brooks, as far as I understand it. So I would lean toward the younger player, who I hope will be ready, I think, a little bit sooner based on the timetable. But it's not a bad strategy. Look, if you're confident in your roster, I don't know if I'd want to take both of them, because you're committing 2 picks back to back, essentially, that you may not have until, who knows, October, and that's not fun. But if you want to take a shot on one of them, it's a great strategy, because if they hit to the level they're capable of, one never doing it before, one being certainly one of the best guys we've had in his era, you could have hopefully a league winner. So for me, it would be Brooks, but again, I don't mind the strategy.
I think it's interesting. You want to bet on upside at the end of your drafts. My only drawback to the strategy is this. If you draft these players and they don't play until, let's say, October, these are valuable back-end roster spots that could be used for the big weeks of free agency. The waiver wire is most important week 1, week 2. And those are weeks where you're now stashing a player on your bench who hasn't played yet and won't be playing for another few weeks. And now you have to cut another player if you want to add one of these waivers. So I'm not high on that.
That's a good point. All right, next question is
Thomas just said somebody roasted my t-shirt in the chat. And I want to know who roasted it and who is not a fan of fantasy football today. Johnny Airport says, did Dan make that t-shirt himself, the stencil set? And some
it's that Dan sleeps in his shirts. We've all
put on today. I don't sleep in any shirts, Adam.
He's also really bad at folding, and all of his shirts are super.
That I agree with. I'm not great at folding, and I'm not great at taking the laundry out immediately when the dryer's done.
What about this question from Beans? Does Adam look like the kid that puts his mouth all over the water fountain?
No shot.
Oh, yes.
I'm the guy
He's so scared of germs that he would never do something like that.
No, but there's a difference between doing it and looking like it. Like, he looks like one of those guys.
Right. That I agree. That's a great point, actually. That is a great point.
That is good. Okay. It's a question from No Name here. 2 quarterback league. My plan is to get 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. I'm shooting for Jackson or Richardson in round 1, and then Daniels in round 2. But all 3 of them are on bye in week 14. Is that too risky? Whoever my third quarterback is, he'll be going it alone in week 14.
It's interesting. I never really consider buys when I'm building these teams out. But that's to my fault. I'd rather get the better player always. I don't want to say you're punting a week, because you could potentially pick somebody up who can play that. And the way the NFL has been going in the last 2 years has been a lot of quarterback injuries. So I'm willing to do it based on recent, history. And I think it'll continue to trend that way with the game getting even more physical, that you'll be able to scoop someone up to play that week.
It's a 10-team league, right?
No, but they're only allowed to roster 3 quarterbacks. 10-team league would be, I don't know if it's a 10-team league.
I mean, if you're only allowed to roster 3 quarterbacks, I think to Dan's point, you just make sure the third quarterback is not on the same bye week.
Right.
You deal with the first 2 guys, and you probably just make it a little bit more of a priority to get the third guy, and then hopefully by the time you get to your bye week situation, you could figure out how you
You can't
handle
though. You have to drop, or you'd have to trade a quarterback because he can't.
That's what I'm saying. You figure it out. You figure it out. You draft the best value, and then you figure it out.
Yep.
Right. I forgot to mention that caveat that you can only roster 3 at a time. So
That's a big caveat.
Does that include IR spots too?
I don't think so, but I don't
Because
know.
if
That's a
it
big
does,
caveat that you left out.
All right. This is from Massimo. He says, subject line is golf. Is it technically a sport? Sure. But is it in the realm of games, sports, darts, bowling, golf? It's cool. It's grown in popularity, and I get why. Older people can play, and it's easy to go on a weekend by yourself or with a couple others. But any sport that you can't tangibly affect your opponent isn't really a sport. Every major sport, there's a give and take, a chess match between teams. But with golf, you're just playing your own little round and hoping you finish better than your opponent. Pool is more of a sport.
That's a great question. It's a big debate that people have had for years, for decades. I would say the reason I believe it's a sport, and I've listened to all arguments, and I used to maybe be even leaning toward the other side, is that your athleticism does impact how good you can be and your ceiling as a golfer. If you are longer, if you're a taller player, and if you are more, quite frankly, more athletic, you have a better chance to be good at the sport. Athleticism played a big role in the golfers that I've seen be good and bad at the sport. So I think it does matter because your athleticism plays a role. But then again, I like the point. Like, you're not playing against anybody. You're not affecting their round at all. Though some people get in people's heads and can mentally affect people's rounds.
Oh, wow. If someone can get in your head, then I'm going to be just fine on the tennis court. All right, listen, we've got a game-changing experience with a new podcast, everybody. It's called Pushing the Pile. Join NFL analyst Mike Renner and 3-time Pro Bowler Kyle Long as they break down the latest action every Monday through Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Catch all the insights and hot takes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. This is going to be a great show, everyone. It's Pushing the Pile with Kyle Long and Mike Renner. Pushing the Pile. Check it out. Download and subscribe right now. When we come back, we'll have the Fantasy Cops. We'll have your Draftathon St. Jude questions. We'll have your Apple Podcast questions, your YouTube questions. Stick around. More from Jamie and Tiddlywinks after this. All right, I got to share some
Big fantasy cops for you, Adam, after the last one.
What
So
do you mean?
talked to a lot of people off pod. I talked to a few of the fans of the show that I'm friends with, and they all agreed it was the worst fantasy cops in the history of probably FFT, to be quite frank.
No shout outs?
No shout outs this time necessary, but it's just so consistent that everybody just disliked it. They're like, how was that a fantasy cops? And I have the same question for you.
And how is it? Look at this Twitter poll here.
Oh, this was the worst take you've had in a while. You think red, Adam thinks red is the best Starburst flavor when it's obviously pink.
Yeah, I did a Twitter poll. Favorite Starburst color. I got almost 2,000 votes here. Pink has 50%.
Yeah,
Red 30%. Orange 12.3%. And yellow 7.4%. Yeah, I'm definitely team red. Definitely.
I mean, red's
Jamie?
the second best, but
I just don't eat Starburst, but I would go pink.
Jamie seems like the type of guy who just doesn't eat candy.
I'm a
Good for
chocolate
you.
guy. I don't mess with this.
Okay. Chocolate.
Why
So
are we
give me
such kids, Adam? Why do we eat candy still?
I don't eat this stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I've
don't.
seen you eating so much candy throughout my time at this company.
It's
So
always
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween comes around. Your kids are now trick or treat age appropriate. What do you do with the candy?
I eat it.
Can I tell you about something really interesting that I'm waiting to see develop that I heard on not today's show, on a show recently?
Yeah.
Heath will potentially be coaching Jamie's son in basketball. I am wildly interested to hear how this goes. I'm all here if we have a potential blow up between coach and coach's son. I don't know. I'm sorry. And a player's son. We have playing time issues that could arise. There is so much good stuff.
So here's first off, I'll put it out there. I hope he's hard on him. So I'm welcoming that. He is, from what I've seen, I haven't seen him actually coach a game. I've seen a couple practices. He does a very good job. His teams have been successful. So he's no longer coaching his son, if I got the story correctly. He was looking to coach a team, and it just happened to come up that our team needed a coach. My son currently is the tallest kid on the team, and I would say if he's not the best, he's the second best kid on the team. So I don't think he will be benching him anytime soon, but I do hope that he whips him into shape a little bit and can certainly get the best out of him.
Here we go, baby. The fantasy cops are back. Your email's here. Fantasyfootball@cbsi.com is our email address. Appreciate if you have a fantasy cops, put fantasy cops in the subject line. This one comes from, again, I don't know the name. Dear Axel, Billy, Serge, and Jeffrey. I know Dan doesn't know that because he's never seen any movies. I need some help in our long-standing 15-team Dynasty League, 1-quarterback league. We have had this league going strong for 7 years now with the same commissioner. I want to say up front, he's a great commish, and this is an awesome league to be a part of. That said, the commissioner's team desperately needed a quarterback. The only quarterback on his roster was Justin Fields. He has no first or second round picks in this year's draft after going all in last year. Unfortunately, he did not win it last year. I did. The commissioner just completed a trade with the last place team from last year, run by an old friend of his, where he, the commissioner, gets Anthony Richardson straight up for Aaron Jones in a 15-team Dynasty League. I questioned the validity and fairness of this trade in strong terms on the league email and was told by the commish to essentially zip it or find a new league. I'm very conflicted because fantasy football isn't worth losing friends over, and I have been in this league since its inception and really enjoy it. That being said, I think this trade impacts the competitive balance moving forward and has bad optics at the very least. My questions are, what do you think of this trade in Dynasty? Anthony Richardson straight up for Aaron Jones. Is there any special approach to dealing with questionable trades when the commissioner is involved? And what would fair value for Anthony Richardson look like in a 15-team Dynasty League?
It's obviously 1-quarterback league because you're not doing a 2QB 15-team league.
Yes.
If the team was competitive, the team receiving Aaron Jones was competitive, you could say it's somewhat fair. But since it was the last place team, unless that team was just ravaged by injuries and has a plethora of quarterbacks, then it's clearly not the best of trades. I wonder if, and you don't have the answer to this, but I wonder if this is the only complaint. Because if you're the only complaint, it's hard to make us think about it. If there's multiple complaints, even 2, then it should be put to a vote if that's how you guys are going to operate. But otherwise, I mean, look, it's not that outlandish just because it's a 1 QB league.
Oh, I feel very differently about this. I was very interested in what Jamie said, though. Like, are you the only complaint here? If so, I think your league is really slacking both in activity and interest and really fairness, because to me, this trade is nowhere near fair. Aaron Jones is at the back end of his career. Running backs fall off the age cliff at where he's at. He may have 1 year, if lucky, at this point. I think he's on a lot of bust lists, mine included. And I think Jamie and a lot of the FFT guys agree he's not good value this year and somebody who could easily fall off the cliff this year. Say it's next year, though. We're talking about a 15-team league where quarterbacks are not as easy to get. There's not many good quarterbacks in the NFL. Anthony Richardson has QB1 overall upside. He may not get there. I understand that. But he literally could be the best player at his position. Aaron Jones has no chance of being the best player at his position at any point for the rest of his career. Unlikely to be an RB1. It is a horrific trade. More people should be complaining about it. The optics are awful.
I guess the question would be, is this a league that vetoes trades?
Well, yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
Because if it's not, and then again, if your team was very good, stacked roster, and got hurt, and you have good quarterbacks. Look, we don't have all the details. That's a problem.
I hate the trade, but I think I'd let it stand because I could see enough scenarios, right, where okay, this guy had some bad injury luck, and then he just decided to tank, but he has a pretty good team. You can go from worst to first in Dynasty if there was some tanking involved.
And how is Aaron Jones going to help you get there?
No, I don't think anybody agrees. I don't think anybody agrees the trade is good.
Yeah,
right?
But people like Aaron Jones more than we do, first of all. You can see that by ADP. He's like RB19.
Nobody in Dynasty would make this trade, though.
No, I know. It's not a good trade. But the thing is, we're sitting here talking about Anthony Richardson. Guy played 4 games last year. And he had, 2 or 3 injuries?
And he has a major injury profile coming from Florida. And he has accuracy concerns. There's a lot of downside to him. But there's not more downside to Jones, and there's nowhere near as much upside.
I
Nowhere
just
near.
think
it's a
that
bad trade. I'm not vetoing it though.
I think the biggest thing is
Horrible
are there vetoing trades allowed in your league, and B, why are you the only one complaining about it? Even the dog is pissed.
All right, another fantasy cops here. Got to turn that up. There we go. All right, our league is currently entering its 21st season, and throughout its history, we've all rotated hosting duties for the draft without issue. However, now that we're getting older and lazier, we decided to make hosting the draft part of the league punishment for finishing in last place. The guy who finished in last this past season is now saying he can't host at his house because, quote, his girlfriend won't let him, end quote. And he wants us all to chip in for an Airbnb. Curiously, he is also the only member of the league who has never hosted before. I argue that if he wants to rent an Airbnb, he should foot the bill for it, considering he is solely responsible for hosting duties this year. What do you guys think we should do with this clearly lazy and incompetent league member?
I think that you're 100% right about this, Adam. It is on him to foot the bill for the.
I didn't say that.
Sorry.
I didn't have a name for this guy. Yeah.
If whoever wrote this in is 100% right, 100% this person should foot the bill if he wants to do an Airbnb. Otherwise, he hosts. Otherwise, he's out of the league. And I almost wonder if this is the type of guy that's blaming this on his girlfriend when it's really just him not wanting to host and using that as an easy excuse.
I think there's this. It is on him. And no, you should not all have to split the bill for the Airbnb. I think what he should do is get a restaurant or something like that.
Right.
Right. Like if he's not going to host you at his house, then fine. Get a restaurant. He's got to make the reservation, set everything up. He's got to host it at the restaurant. Right. We good with that?
Yes.
I can't imagine what question I missed.
Guy's welching on hosting the draft. He's supposed to host it for his league.
Blaming it on his girlfriend.
All right. My name is Hutch, and I own one of the newest but consensus. I shouldn't be reading. He's trying to promote his product. I am very pronunciation aware when it comes to names. With that in mind, why is it that Adam is so quick to correct everyone when they say a name wrong, like Achan or Dobbs, when clearly Devonta Smith is one of the most obvious mispronounced names, and he hasn't picked up on that? It's pronounced with a T, not a T, Adam. Please do better.
I don't think that's true. And I've had this debate before.
I've heard that before.
I'm pretty sure that he, on an interview, said Devontae, and I will look that up. Because remember Devonta Freeman? People thought it was Devonta Freeman. I always thought it was Devontae Freeman. On an interview, somebody asked him that later in his career, and he said it was Devontae Freeman.
I appreciate your support here because I don't like mispronouncing names.
But I do agree with the general thought that you are quick to just jump down someone's throat if they have a mispronunciation wrong. Like you rip into them, you get it going quick. Oh, no, I'm Adam. I got the correction right on top of my head. And you get some wrong too. Okay. You get some wrong too. So we got to start doing a better job, Jamie, of calling Adam out when he makes any little mistake.
I would never do that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Please, if I mispronounce a name, I want to know about it. All right, here are your draftathon questions with donations to St. Jude. So appreciative of this. Thank you so much. This is from Mike. I am keeping Killer Murray. Thinking of his bye, and if he underperforms, what are the best quarterbacks to pair with him? Did I get that right?
Yeah, honestly, Adam, that wasn't that funny. I know you looked over. You had a look on your face after saying it, like, "Ooh, am I gonna get a laugh out of this one? This one's a good one." But we gave you nothing. But anyway, go to the question again. I need to hear that again. I was waiting to make that line.
Who should he pair with Kyler Murray in case Kyler Killer Murray in case he fails?
Which quarterback?
Yeah.
I don't know the bye weeks off the top of my head, so I apologize. But I mean, the obvious one is Jared Goff. Just easy schedule and very good floor.
I'd go later, Gino or Cousins.
Well, I got bad news. You can't, because of bye weeks, you can't pair Kyler Murray with Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, or Baker Mayfield.
Oh my God, we can't get those guys on our team. Are you kidding me, Adam?
Why would you go that late, though? Why not do what Jamie's doing and take Jared Goff or something?
Because I believe that Kyler Murray will be a top 5 quarterback, so I don't want to pair him with somebody that I have to invest draft capital in.
Yeah, but I guess it comes down to, what type of league you play in. If everybody's taking 2 quarterbacks, they're probably taking them a little sooner. If everybody's not taking 2 quarterbacks and you're going to be one of the 4 or 5 managers that do, you could probably get one of those guys late.
All right, next one's from Will. I draft late in round 1. I have the 9th pick, and I struggle with the idea of taking Puka Nacua, Drake London, or Devontae Adams at the turn over running backs like Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor, even though I want to load up at receiver.
It's a 10-team league?
Yeah, these are, I don't know, probably. These are not the names. These are not the droids that we are drafting at wide receiver here, London and Adams. You're thinking, yeah, like Puka, yes, but you're also in the A.J. Brown, Marvin Harrison. Who am I forgetting?
Not
At
AJ.
9, you're taking A.J. Brown.
AJ
Garrett
never
Wilson.
makes it there.
To
Neither
9?
does Garrett.
At
To
9, you're taking A.J. Brown.
No, he's talking about on the comeback.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's saying, the way I heard Adam's answer was that Brown would be there on the way back. No.
Okay. Probably not. I am seeing more and more, I think twice this week now. So it's really small sample size. The Elite 8 plus Saquon Barkley being the first 9 picks.
Yeah.
But anywho, no, don't take Devontae Adams or Drake London at 12th overall. But what would you guys do there?
If it's a 10-team league, then there's the potential of Jonathan Taylor being there. So that's perfectly fine if you want to go receiver, running back. If you want to go receiver, it's probably Puka or Harrison, just based on how it should unfold. Because you would assume that the manager picking 10 would take Garrett Wilson. Clearly, if Wilson's there, I think you go receiver. But it's just a matter, I think, of how you want your build to go. So I've this is pre-Jahmyr Gibbs. But for the most part, when I was picking 11 or 12, I had no problem going running back, just because of the receivers that were coming back in rounds 3, 4, and 5, just getting 2 of those top, 5 or 6 guys. You could also put Kyron Williams in that conversation too.
All right, next question's from Z-Bat. When drafting on various websites with such different rankings, how do you identify players that are heavily over or undervalued when comparing rankings? Fairly new to drafting and noticing my teams look much different on Sleeper versus ESPN. Yeah, we're going to have content about this at some point. But go ahead.
So I think the most important thing to do is when you identify players that you like, whether it's by rankings or by tiers, and you're playing on a site that is different either than where you've been mock drafting or listening to the analysts or reading the analyst content, the first thing you do is, because most analysts do not provide projections for the draft room. And so that's an easy way to identify players that you like and to skip around or maybe have to buy into a little sooner based on, what we would say is average draft position, or at least the projections based on those on those rankings. So it's an easy way to, sort of steal value, because if, like, for example, if you follow me, or if you follow Heath, or you follow Dave, I'll just use my the players that I tend to talk about a lot. So if you are anti Devontae Adams, for example, in round 2, it's an easy way to just let somebody else take that player. And then you get, let's say you are a Malik Neighbors person and you see he's ranked in the 60s. You take him a little bit sooner. Forget about what your draft grade is going to be, because it's going to be bad, but you're getting the player that you want. So it's just a matter of, the thing about this game is you got to find somebody that if you're not an experienced player and know what to do yourself, if you're following certain people's advice, you got to trust that advice. You just got to sort of commit to that person and hope that they lead you to, the way you want to go.
All right. From Radco. Dear Tommy, Nikki, Vince, and Mick. I did Google this, but I actually got it right. My guess
Italians.
was right. No. What?
Say me again.
Tommy, Nikki, Vince, and Mick.
You're laughing, but I'm correct. They are also Italians.
How do you know? You don't even know who these are.
Who's Tommy, Vincent, Nikki?
Right. It's Motley Crue.
All right. I don't think any of those guys are Italian.
Yeah, I don't know. 12-team, half PPR, 6-point per passing touchdown league. We can keep 3 players going into next season. We don't sacrifice any draft picks. I'm keeping Josh Jacobs and DK Metcalf. Who should my third keeper be? Devontae Adams, Tank Dell, Zamir White, or Trey McBride?
Ooh. Who he's
No
keeping
penalty
Josh Jacobs and who? Metcalf?
No penalty for picks?
No penalties, but I assume you can just keep on keeping these guys. That I don't know.
Oh, yeah. If they can keep him past a year. I mean, it's either Adams or McBride for me.
Yep.
I almost wonder if I would consider going Adams, Metcalf, and McBride and leaving Josh Jacobs. And part of me definitely thinks I would.
Right.
Which part?
The part that I'm going to go with, the advice. I would keep those 3, and I would throw back Josh Jacobs.
If there is the ability to keep them forever, I think you got to put McBride and Metcalf on the list and not necessarily Adams. If you're trying to just win this year, then it's probably Jacobs, Adams, and I would probably still go Metcalf.
All right, this is from Daryl. I've been a fan since the early days when Lauren Shahadi was a member. Cool. Okay, keeper question. 12-team PPR league. McCaffrey in the first round. Jalen Hurts in the 5th round. Who are you going with?
McCaffrey for me.
Where in the first round?
I don't know.
We don't know, but I will say this: in these types of leagues, these first rounds end up being more like a 3rd or 4th round. So it's just unbelievable to be able to get a McCaffrey, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that for me, there's not enough round difference of where I would take a quarterback. So I would rather have McCaffrey.
And here's Kevin. DJ Moore or Nico Collins in a full PPR keeper league? Who would you rather keep?
Nico.
I think I'm going to be alternative here. I'm going to go DJ Moore. I really think DJ Moore could be set up for an unbelievable season from just what I've seen in Hard Knocks and what I've seen in the preseason. I think they're going to probably find a way to mix and match Rome, Odunze, and Keenan Allen in these 2 wide receiver sets. They're going to get more 12 personnel than people realize because they like both Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. So I think DJ Moore could just be that locked on target. And I just think the target share will be a little better for him than it is Nico.
All right, we got our Apple Podcast questions now, and then we'll finish with YouTube. This one is from Felix. What is your preferred draft position for a 3 wide receiver plus flex PPR league? And what's your ideal / realistic 3 wide receiver lineup?
Adam closed his eyes earlier and gave us CD Lamb, Jalen Waddle, and
Not the Adams, but the funny thing is, I would change it to CD Lamb, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, which I think you can do because Waddle is going to be a 3rd round pick for most people, if not later. He goes kind of late.
Yeah, I mean, the point being, though, like, I think this is exactly where I would want to pick in the top 3 or 4, because when you come back, the receivers that you're going to get in round 2 are not too dissimilar than what you're going to get in round 2 if you have the back end round 1 pick. If there was a way for me to guarantee I can get Garrett Wilson and AJ Brown, or Garrett Wilson and Amon Ra, or AJ Brown and Amon Ra, sure, I'd be more willing to have a later draft pick, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's happening less and less. I don't want Puka Nacua in that range. I would rather get the Olave London that you could get in the back end of round 2 with that first pick being a Lamb or a Tyreek Hill.
I would take 6 because you're guaranteeing yourself one of those top receivers, especially if somebody takes Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson in the first 5 picks. And then you have the ability to dictate what you can do in the 2nd round with those receivers, because you're probably looking at London, Olave in your lap, landing in your lap.
And I think I would take 8 because I feel like you can get Jefferson there. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, fine. Or St. Brown. And I think if you have 8, you give yourself a chance to get Marvin Harrison, who I think by ADP is available there. Never gets it that far in our drafts, but we're a little higher on him than the industry.
I just to circle back on 2 things. I did exactly that in our flex draft, the league that's run by Jake Seeley. I had the 8th pick. I had Amara St. Brown, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then to go with the receiver strategy. I hope you like this, Adam. So I took those 2 receivers, Deebo Samuel in round 3, Ken Walker in round 4, and then I went receiver heavy still. In round 5, I took Tank Dell. In round 6, I took Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I remember you tweeted about that. That was probably my favorite team you've drafted all season for what I like.
Starters, right? That's important to note. You can start.
So those are all starters. And the only thing that would be different if it was a 3 receiver league with 1 flex would be, instead of taking Godwin, I probably would have taken running back, quarterback, tight end. Now, again, I took it very far because after those 2 receivers, then I went tight end and quarterback.
Right.
I like
okay.
that a lot.
All right. Let's go to Joe's question. He needs 2.
All of my starters are fine, at least right now, with Ken Walker and Brian Robinson. My bench running backs: Trey Benson, not great in the preseason. Marshawn Lloyd, banged up. Tyrone Tracy, banged up. So
the only thing I might have done different is attack the running backs a little bit more in that mid range after. But
yeah, no, I just the way the board fell, I felt.
Yeah.
All right, Joe needs 2 keepers in a PPR Superflex league. It's a 10-team league. We got Barkley in round 2, James Cook in round 4, St. Brown in round 5, Addison round 8, JSN round 11, Laporta round 16. Will Levis, round 18. Remember, it's Superflex. Achane, Zamir White, Tajay Spears, Noah Brown. They're all round 18.
Wow.
I don't know why I included Noah Brown on there, but
I think I might go crazy here. Well, let me hear what Jamie. Do you have one? I know what I.
I mean, I was going to say Laporta is the easiest one of all.
I think Achan's just as easy. I think I'm just going both of those guys and calling it a day.
St. Brown in round 5 is
I'll give that up to get
I was going
Achan
to
round
say
18.
St. Brown and Laporta.
I'll go Laporta and Achan and round 16, round 18 feels great.
All right. From Trevor, from the oldest city in the U.S.
Virginia. City. City is interesting because I was
St.
going to say
Augustine?
like that. Didn't they say somewhere in Virginia? Wasn't it?
St. Augustine. Yeah. St. Augustine. Very good.
Wow.
Dear Barry, Emmanuel, Miles, Dion, and Jason. Barry, Emmanuel. Oh, Sanders.
All Sanders.
Sanders, yeah.
Oh, I think I got there slightly. I think I got the same time at you, if not slightly before you.
Wait, what
Do you
is
know what that is?
Yes.
One of the only.
Oh.
I think at the same time. I think I got there at the same time as you, if not slightly before you.
No, it's like one of those Judd Apatow movies or something.
No,
What is it?
it's MacGruber.
Oh, MacGruber. Yes.
I love MacGruber. I think it's one of the most underrated comedies of all time.
Save. Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite lines ever delivered.
I quote that movie all the time. I can
He
never
got there
quote
so late with it too. It was so funny. Totally didn't. Got there at the same time as you, not slightly before you.
Every line is filthy in that movie, so I can never
so
say it
good.
on the air, but it's hilarious. All right.
The sex scene is beyond. It was one of the funniest sex scenes in the history of any movie ever.
It really is, man. And you know what else to say? Like, number none of your business.
Yeah. He's
number
really funny. Like, he's a really funny actor / comedian that people don't know. But did you ever see Last Man on Earth, his TV show? It's pretty funny too.
Will Forte is great. He's great in I Think You Should Leave. 12-team PPR, one keeper, McCaffrey at 112, CeeDee Lamb at 201, Kyron Williams at 1712, Rashee Rice at 1712. It's got to be Kyron, right? But you can keep them forever. You can keep them forever. So that gave him a little bit of a Rashee Rice lean.
No. If I wouldn't put, it's Kyron for me based on the value. But if it's keep forever, I almost want to go Lamb.
Only one?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep Kyron and then try and find my keeper forever still in the draft. But
yeah. Right.
Okay.
You can do that.
This is from Science. Dear Pudge, Sea Monster, Nate, and Michael.
Pudge, Sea Monster, Nate, and Michael.
Are those
The Office?
Oh,
What? Really?
what is that?
Yeah,
from?
they're like very small, minor characters.
Whoa.
I don't remember them.
Wild that you knew that so fast, Thomas.
Very
That's
good.
unbelievable.
Sea Monster gave it away.
That's unbelievable.
12-team Devi startup. I have Bijan and no other running backs, no other decent running backs. I'm not a contender this year, but I should be next year or the year after. I've been offered Luther Burden and Quinshawn Judkins for Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I'm just gonna nip this one in the bud here. That's not the right term. Whatever it is, I get those wrong. Is that right? I usually get those wrong.
Nip it in the bud?
We're not Devi guys, okay? This unfortunate reality situation. I'm not going to pretend to be a Devi guy. I don't think Jamie or Adam is either.
No.
So I have no idea about these high school players, but I will tell you this. Do not do this trade. In my opinion, if I played it.
I think these are college players.
They're college, not high
They're
school.
probably freshmen in college.
Luther Burden is a wide receiver. Quinshawn Judkins is a running back.
I sound really stupid. These guys have probably played years in college. I'll just be honest.
Dude,
They're not
I looked it up before the show.
if they're not draft eligible, like I'm not going to know them until their draft class.
Burden is going to be a first-round wide receiver.
This coming, he's draft eligible already.
Yes.
Point being, look, these could be great guys. I'd still take the known. I would take the known player over the unknown.
Bijan, if he has a McCaffrey-like season, could be the 101 even at a running back spot.
True.
So you got to get completely blown away.
Mm-hmm. All right, 10-team Dynasty League from...
Like if it was those two players and they're that legit and picks, maybe.
10-team Dynasty League where wide receivers get PPR and running backs get half PPR. Who should I be picking up when the season starts? Jamie?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Off waivers?
10-team Dynasty League, wide receivers get PPR, running backs get half PPR. Who should I be picking up when the season starts?
That's such a vague question.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know that we can really help with this.
This is not, yeah.
Next up, J-Mac in Kansas City. 10-team PPR.
You know your waivers.
I can either keep Kyron Williams or Puka Nacua in the 6th round. What would you do there? And then I have the 5th pick in our draft. Would you try and grab Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, or grab a receiver like Hill or Lamb?
I would. Ooh, so it's basically Kyron and Lamb or Hill, or one of those 2 elite backs, and Puka is basically the trade or the decision here.
No, you could go with
Right?
2 running backs. You could go with 2 running backs and 2 receivers. There's no reason why you can't.
I would keep Puka and draft a running back.
Yeah, I think I would do the same.
Alan from Austin, who should I keep? $200 salary cap, PPR league, pick 2. AJ Brown at 55, David Montgomery at 12, James Conner at 22, Dalton Kincaid at 10, Ramondre Stevenson at 11.
If these are your best bets, I would probably go Kincaid and Ramondre, and then just try and load up elsewhere.
I'll go Kincaid and Connor. I have Connor significantly higher than Ramondre personally.
But double the price?
Wait, Ramondre was what, 12 or 11?
Ramondre was 11 and he was 22.
I misheard that. I thought there was another back in there that was 12. That makes it more tricky. It sounds like it's a 300 budget, or is it 200 budget?
Yeah, $200 budget. I said that. Connor is probably the worst value, honestly.
Oh, you said that. I'm so sorry. I can't hear every detail and remember every detail.
It's okay. I did send you the notes. All right, this is from, let's go to our YouTube questions. My home league is 10 teams. How would you strategize differently for 10 teams?
Depending on where you pick in the first round, I would lean toward getting as many difference makers as possible. So when we say wait on quarterback or wait on tight end, I would throw out that, strategy if you can. Don't overvalue certain players, but would not be a bad thing if you come away with a high-end quarterback or high-end tight end, because you can make up the running back and wide receiver value elsewhere.
Agreed with Jamie. Go for the higher end players in 10 team.
Picking 6th in a 12-team PPR league, and I'm keeping Isaiah Pacheco in the 6th round. How should I build my draft?
I mean, Dan sort of alluded to this before. When you talk about keepers, you're getting into round 2, round 3 type of players, depending on who the keepers are. But if you can get a receiver in the first round at 6, that's the right way to go. So you may have to, sort of depending on the player pool, but like, I don't want to reach for Marvin Harrison Jr., but that's basically like a 2nd round pick. So if you told me that was the best receiver available at 6, I wouldn't hate it. But I think you just take best player available, lean toward wide receiver.
Yeah, and I would say, just to be clear, what I meant in the last question was the onesie positions, tight end and quarterback, are more valuable. But in this scenario, I'd build a hero running back approach around Pacheco. Very high on Pacheco. Moved him up my latest rankings edition. I have him in the tier with Barkley, Henry, and Taylor now. A lot of good stuff coming out. He may be the only back they trust on 3rd down besides Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is maybe not going to be able to play all the season. Pacheco could be in for one of the biggest workhorse roles in the entire NFL on one of the best scoring offenses in the entire NFL, and was unbelievable down the stretch run, including the playoffs. So I would build a hero around Pacheco.
Yeah, actually, the Chiefs are going to play their starters for, I think, 4 series in the preseason.
Reed loves playing starters in the preseason. It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually. 10 team.
Enjoy last night.
I mean, watching Drake May. He threw a phenomenal pass to Baker that was almost caught.
Man, you're gonna really have a little buyer's remorse about not moving up to get Drake May, huh?
What do you mean? They couldn't do it. They had no way to do it.
I mean, I'm sure if they offered enough, they would have done it.
Yeah, if they had made a horrific trade offer, they could have done it. But when DeVito won those games, this was the reality of the situation.
They only get the best wide receiver in the world. They get the best wide receiver in the world. It's going to work out. From Big Joe, is Christian
you don't need a quarterback to win in the NFL.
You don't need to get your quarter. You don't need to reach. Is Christian McCaffrey?
That I agree with. That
101. Who's pick 101 for you?
Still McCaffrey.
McCaffrey for me.
Keeper question from Scott. St. Brown in the 8th. Richardson in the 16th. Taylor in the 5th. Pick 2.
Amon-Ra and Taylor for me.
Amon-Ra and Taylor for me as well. Unless it's a 2 QB league, but
well, yeah, of course.
Okay. Who's reffing this tennis match? It's a good question. Tennis show at the tennis club that I go to did sort of offer to chair ump it. I have to ask. I have to
ask him if he will. And we need someone to videotape it. A lot of people have asked me, like, can we live stream this? Can we?
When is this happening?
What are we going to do from a videotape standpoint? We need to figure out.
I don't know. You won't pick a date.
No, that's not true. I told you. Well, I have to confirm We're gonna have to do it on a weekday because his weekends are no good, and neither are
Oh,
mine.
my weekends are fine. You can come out here.
I don't think it's gonna work. I have drafts coming up basically every weekend
All right,
until the
weekday.
start of the season. Now, weekday, we'll have to, I have to pass it through my boss first and see, can I drive up in the middle of a weekday? But we will figure it out. It's going to happen close to when the draftathon is, and it will happen close to when the FFT League is. We want to raise some money first for St. Jude before we have the match.
Okay, 8th overall pick in a 3-receiver PPR league. Most mocks, I'm looking at Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, or A.J. Brown. Rank them in order you'd take them.
That's the order.
Bijan, Jefferson, Brown. We'll do a few more here.
Though I'm willing to consider A.J. Brown over Jefferson. I've been reading some really, really, look, if Mullins plays, that could help. I got bad feeling about this Darnold offense. A really bad feeling. He was like,
I think that if people are going, I hope it's Nick Mullins, that should give you a little bit of an idea that Sam Darnold might just have his best season ever with Kevin O'Connell throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison.
We'll revisit this. We can revisit this. Kevin O'Connell is an amazing coach. We have seen at times coaches cannot fix everything when it comes to the quarterback position. Darnold started 1 of 12. Darnold started 1 of 12 with a pick 6 in the joint practices.
You think he's worse?
See what happens
than Nick Mullins?
Do I what?
All right.
I will make.
You think he's worse than Nick Mullins?
Nick Mullins will start games for the.
Okay, but let me ask you a question though, Dan.
This season.
Let me ask you a question.
Not due to injury.
This is worth revisiting now. Nick Mullins is still on the roster, right?
Yes.
So if Darnold stinks, they're going to turn to Mullins.
That's what I'm saying. I would make a wager that Nick Mullins will start some games this year, not due to a Darnold injury.
So you're buying Jefferson based on Mullins?
No, I'm not really buying Jefferson. I don't think this is going to be a good situation for that offense. And I think he's now moved past A.J. Brown, and I'm considering taking Garrett Wilson and past Amon-Ra. I'm considering taking, I already had a bad feeling about this. And it's not like McCarthy was going to make me feel much better about it, but I haven't liked what I'm seeing out of the Darnold. And I've seen too much Darnold not work once the defensive coordinators have a chance to scheme and actually blitz and pressure and give him looks that he doesn't like post-snap. And we'll see if O'Connell can miraculously fix him. It's possible, but I tend to believe it's more on the player than the coach.
I don't disagree with that, but to me, it's not necessarily all about the quarterback here for this guy.
Right.
You just tell me he's getting,
because he did well with Mullins
per game. I'm buying it. And I'd be very shocked if he's less than 10 targets per game.
So what is he wide receiver 4 for you, Jamie?
3.
Okay.
Yeah. If Chase gets everything done, I'll move Chase back up. But right now, if I'm drafting today, I'm taking Jefferson 3.
All right. We got to go. Long show today. Thank you very much to Dan and Jamie.
You got a good, this will get Dan riled up. Rest of season, worst hair.
Oh gosh. It's like we have pretty similar hair, I guess, but mine's just a little bit better.
We do not have similar hair. If I had hair that looked that frizzy, curly, and not in the opposite of fine, I would not be happy with my hair.
I think the hair looks great. I
imagine that when it's too humid out, your hair starts to really turn into just an absolute mess up there.
That's factual. That is true.
Do you play tennis outside, Adam, or do you play indoors?
Outside. This is the thing. I am in such better shape than golfing Dan. You better hope you beat me in
You're
2
in better
sets.
shape.
Keeling over.
We need to clear this up before we end the show.
Over in the 3rd set.
Let me tell you something that we need to clear before this end of the show. You grew up playing tennis. You're playing multiple times a week. So am I allowed to? I picked up a racket once this summer. Am I allowed to pick one up before a match or no?
You do whatever you want because you're already. I can tell how scared you are because originally you said I'm not going to pick up. You said it 1,000 times. I'm not going to pick up a racket. I'm going to just show up and play. You're backing out. You're backing out from that.
Well, it's not about backing out from that. It's about me wanting to accomplish a new goal. I believe that if I never picked up a racket, I could beat you. But now my new goal is to beat you 6-0, 6-0 and really make it painful. And if that's the case, I got to pick up a racket a few times before we play.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Right. You're so scared. You're so scared, Apollo.
Tennis is a timing-based game. Okay? You have to get the timing down.
And you had this ego that you just thought you could show up and beat me.
I do think I could show up and beat you.
Now you know that's not true.
I might play once before this match, by the way. It's not like I'm making time to do this. If I have time, it's being dedicated to golf at this point.
Let's play next Wednesday. Let's play next Wednesday.
Well, aren't you guys auctioning off spots to draft in the
draft? We have to at least wait for the auction to be over, which is in 7 days. And by the way,
Fine.
You can go bid on Adam and myself on the Tiltify page. There's a tiny URL at the bottom there. Look for the Draftathon store. The highest bidder on Adam will be able to co-manage his team in the FFT Open, the opposite for me, and we get to do funky
It's not
things.
the FFT Open.
Sorry.
Yes.
Even better, the FFT League, the official FFT
Just so
League.
you know, for your schedules, I'm not holding up the draft for you guys to complete this.
No, I understand. We will get the match done before we have time.
Just making it clear.
I'll come up on a weekday after the auction ends, Adam. And it sounds like you're the scared one now because you're like, let's play now so Dan doesn't have a chance to pick up a racket.
I'm just saying, I will play today. You can come tonight. I will take you out to the Mount Kisco Diner tonight. Let's play tennis. Just bring it. Get in your car and drive. All right, we got to go.
We can also add to the bet that the loser of the match buys the other person dinner.
No, you're coming out. I'll buy you dinner no matter what.
Okay. What a guy. What a guy.
You'll
buy me dinner, but you won't let me shower in your house.
You can shower at my house. I'll take you to the best diner you've ever been in, and that is a guarantee.
Oh, I like that.
All right, we are out of here. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you Monday on Fantasy Football Today.